Okay, welcome. It's Monday morning. Welcome to Architects of Change Live, conversations with change makers who are moving humanity forward. And I thought that it would be great this week to start with a great friend of mine. His name is Bob Roth, and he has written this wonderful new book. It's called Strength in Stillness, The Power of Transcendental Meditation. And let me begin by saying he taught me transcendental meditation, and anybody who knows me would have said that that was impossible, that nobody could have taught me, one, how to meditate, two, how to sit still, and he did. And so I am deeply grateful to him. He's my teacher, he's my friend, and he has now written this really great book.
Good friend.
You are my good friend, and he has all kinds of great people singing his praises on the back of this book. But what I really admire about him is not only is he teaching people from the news business, Wall Street, Hollywood, but he's working with schools across the world. He's working with veterans. He's working with women who've experienced domestic violence, and he is really changing lives. So that's my introduction to Bob Roth, and welcome.
Hi.
And he runs, I should say, the David Lynch Foundation. You can find out more about that online, and all the great work that they're doing. So Bob, let me begin, as I always do here, by asking the architect of change that I'm talking to, the change maker, which is you, how you feel you're moving humanity forward at this moment in our life.
At this moment in our life,
Yeah.
when there's more stress, more trauma, more pressure, more uncertainty, more frightening circumstances, when people have nowhere to go to find, there's no medicine, there's no drug outside to bring that sort of balance and equanimity, I'm, with others, bringing an ancient meditation practice into the modern world that allows an individual to access their own inner equanimity, their own inner strength, their own inner power, so that they can navigate an increasingly confusing world, and not just handle stress, but actually wake up the brain so that they're more creative and more focused and more innovative to actually progress in their life.
Is it your vision, it is your hope, is it your belief that if all of us were practicing TM, we would be better leaders, better parents, better partners? How would the world be different?
In just the same way, if everybody was eating better, if everybody was exercising, if everybody was true to themselves, if everybody was living life in an honorable way. So transcendental meditation just allows us to be better human beings, just as these other things do. And it's not an either or. I think we have to eat properly. You know what you do here. You have to exercise, and you have to develop who you are. We have to systematically unfold our mental potential. And if we did that, we'd be a much better humanity. But we become more of ourself. We don't become someone else. This isn't a philosophy. This isn't a change in lifestyle. There's no shtick here. This is just like you exercise from here down.
Yeah.
So transcendental meditation is addressing from here up.
So we seem to be a society, and particularly young people, consumed with anxiety now, consumed with keeping up, and people think like if they get likes, they'll be better. If they make more money, they'll be better. And you're really saying that being better starts with being at peace, starts with being strong in stillness. So how do you get that across?
You get that across because nobody wants to be really anxious all the time. No one wants to feel consumed with anxiety. No one wants to be depressed. No one wants to have headaches. No one wants to not be able to sleep. I don't care what age they are. And the only way that people have gone to sort of manage that is, I'll just drink more, or I'll smoke, I'll take drugs, or I'll do whatever, I'll take medicines. But as more and more research comes out on transcendental meditation, and more people find out about this, they start thinking, wow, you mean I could sit for 15 or 20 minutes, I could do a simple technique, I could give my body a state of rest deeper than sleep at will, and that's going to get rid of stress and anxiety and fatigue that like nothing else does, and it's going to allow me to use more of my creativity. It's just a matter of time. I think it's just a matter of time before more people adopt it.
So, and it's really important, I think, to stress that all the science now and the research has caught up with this ancient practice. So last night Bob was over at my house for dinner, and I had put 3 of my children had studied transcendental meditation with the David Lynch Foundation, and one, I won't say who it is, it was like, that's not for me, and I've been kind of on him to do it. And last night he said to Bob, well, what am I going to get from it? And I thought you handled it really well.
Well, I use the analogy of an ocean. I say you're on a little boat and you're stuck in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and all of a sudden you get these giant waves. And you're in this little boat, these big 30, 40-foot high waves, and you could think, oh my God, the whole ocean is in upheaval. But if you could do a cross-section of the ocean out there, you'd realize that you got these little itty-bitty 30-foot waves, but in reality the ocean is over a mile deep. And while the surface of the ocean may be turbulent, the depth of the ocean is silent, is still. And I use that as an analogy for the mind. So the surface of the mind is our worried monkey mind that gotta mind,
Right.
all that anxiety. And it's a natural inclination to say, oh, I'd like to have some inner calm. Even your offspring, child, we're not naming the one, wants calm, steadiness, steadfastness. Everybody wants it. The question is there such a thing as an inner? And if so, how do you get there? So with Transcendental meditation, you get a simple technique. You learn a mantra from a trained teacher, and you're taught how to use it properly. But here's the interesting thing. That technique effortlessly gives access to that stillness that lies within. Sounds philosophical, sounds theoretical, sounds woo-woo, but as you were mentioning, the research is hard, solid data. Cortisol levels, which are a stress hormone secreted by the adrenal glands when we're anxious.
Right.
Well, if you get a good night's sleep, cortisol levels will drop 10%. 15, 20 minutes of Transcendental meditation, they drop 30 to 40%. There's a part of...
Listen to that. So
Yeah.
20 minutes of Transcendental meditation better than a whole night's sleep.
For reducing cortisol levels.
You were also saying to the table last night about how it allows the mind to wake up to its creativity.
Yeah, so there's everybody wants to be more creative, particularly these days. You know, to get ahead, you have to be innovative, you have to be creative, you have to creative solutions to problems, and you just can't. Transcendental, you don't want to just get rid of stress and then be bleh. You want to wake up your brain. And so what happens with Transcendental meditation is that there's two parts of the brain that are involved in creativity. One is called the executive center, which is your prefrontal cortex. It's about the size of your fist. It's right behind your forehead. And that's your concentration, your focus, your judgment, planning. But there's another part of your brain, which is the imagination center network, and it's called the default mode network. And that's when you're taking a hot shower and great ideas come, or you go for a walk in the woods and great ideas come. Your mind is sort of wandering. Well, to be creative, you actually need both at the same time. For most people, it's either one, I'm focused, or the other, I'm going for a walk.
Right.
In Transcendental meditation, when the mind settles down, it wakes up both centers, the creative center and the concentration focus center, and both remain lively afterwards.
What I think is so incredible also
is that too much detail?
No, that
Okay.
was perfect. The work that you are doing in schools and what Bob has done and with his organization really has shown that kids that have Transcendental meditation incorporated into the curriculum, into the schools, have much better potential to learn. They get in trouble. Right, much less. You're trying to get this into as many schools as possible all through the country.
And all over the world.
Right.
Children are just getting destroyed by pressure in the 24/7 world that we live in, and their brains are incapable of managing that kind of pressure, and so they get traumatized at an early age. They have the same inner city school kids, 12, 13 years old, have the same symptoms of PTS, post-traumatic stress, as veterans coming back from combat. Same. Sort of the trauma.
That is incredible. And this isn't just kids in inner city schools.
No, it's actually, yes,
kids
everywhere.
across all economic grounds. They are stressed out, anxious, traumatized.
And they have to study all the time, and there's
Right.
huge pressure to get into kindergarten. You know,
Right.
it's like from the beginning, and their brains can't handle it. And so what do? Well, we give them, Adderall because they have learning disorder, which is caused or exacerbated by stress, or we give them an antidepressant. 10 million children in America under the age of 12 are on adult levels of antidepressant medication. Never been safety tested on children. So we're pumping them with drugs, and it's backfiring. And so you have the number 3 cause of death in America among teenagers, suicide. Now, and that's actually more affluent communities. So it's screaming for something like this.
We're all screaming for
Yes,
something like this. The other thing that I think is really great in this time of all this discussion about gender, about owning your truth, about speaking your truth, about the trauma of being sexually abused, sexually harassed. You're doing a lot of work with women who are victims of domestic violence, and also men who might be perpetrators of that. How is Transcendental meditation helping the gender warfare that we're seeing? and helping women who've experienced it.
You know, PTSD, they call it the hidden wounds of trauma. You can't see it necessarily, although some women and children are physically abused, but there's far more abuse on an emotional or on a mental level.
Right.
And that causes physical trauma in the body that you can't see. And so what happens when that child or that adult, that woman, sits down for a few minutes in meditation and goes from that active, agitated level of the mind and just effortlessly, gently, and I want to ask you a question here, settles down. As the mind settles down to that inner calm, your whole body gains a state of rest deeper than sleep. It's such a relief. It's so rejuvenating, and it's a sanctuary. It's a sanctuary for people. That. It's a sanctuary.
You can be your own sanctuary. Your own
sanctuary. And then as a result, the title of the book is Strength and Stillness. Based on that stillness, based on that, you don't lose that sanctuary. So you carry that sanctuary no matter where you are. When you're in court and you're having to face the perpetrator, an intimate partner who has done something to you or your child. In the past, you couldn't do that. You couldn't face that person. Now we find these women saying, I stood up in court, I testified, I have my power back, I could almost cry, I have my strength back, I'm not a victim. And that's not because of something external. It's because they're just accessing who they are anyway. That's the point here. This is not a philosophy. That area that lies within is within every human being. And with this simple meditation, we access it and then we live it. And it's great.
So how do you think people who are out there saying, like, I'm too busy, I don't know, what's it going to give me, I can't sit, and that was something that I felt like how I couldn't sit. I was afraid of sitting. I was afraid of what might come up. I was afraid of silence. I was afraid of, like, missing out. What I got to get going. Now I religiously look forward to it. I get my coffee, and I sit down, and I have my mantra. And
why do you do it regularly now? What does it do for
because
you?
It calms me, and it puts me in touch with my sanctuary, and I like who I am better with it. I find something that had eluded me on the outside I found within myself, and I just go forward. I think I'm a better friend, I'm a better mother, I'm a better leader, I'm a better woman through my meditation
She's
practice.
already very exceptional in all those areas.
No, but he
I'm
sat
holding
with
back
me. Do we
my
have
praise.
a question?
I'm holding back my praise.
Okay, we have a question.
We have a question. Someone wants to know, when you sit down in that stressful state, how long does it take you to get from there to that sanctuary state?
Good question. So the question is from, I don't know her name or his...
Wanda.
Wanda is wanting to know how long it takes to go from the windows, the waves at the top to the sanctuary at the bottom.
Well, Wanda, this is not a mass meditation where you just you learn it online and you visualize something and now I feel peace and calm. For most people that can actually be frustrating because they don't feel peace and calm. This is a meditation that's taught one-to-one. You have your own teacher and you learn it over 4 consecutive days, about an hour a day each day. And the first day when you learn, you're given a mantra, which is a word or a sound that has no meaning. It's just a simple tool that helps you dive within. And then the next 3 days is just some reassurance and some understanding. So about an hour a day over 4 days. And then in those 4 days, Wanda, you learn how to access that calm. It's not difficult. We teach 10-year-old children to do this who've never heard of meditation. And many people who say, I could never meditate because my mind is so crazy busy, I can't clear my mind of thoughts. That's not transcendental meditation. Transcendental means to transcend. It sounds like a strange word, but it just means to settle down and access that sanctuary that lies within. So to answer your question very quickly,
but
once you've learned it.
I think the other thing is that people can be intimidated, like I was, of the 20-minute thing. So I was under your direction, I was like, okay, let's try for 2 minutes. Then let's work our way up to 5 minutes. Then let's work, and I worked slowly because I think sometimes 20 minutes feels daunting, right? Twice a day, it feels like I can't possibly do that. So I think it's also okay to kind of work your way up.
Yes, you learn a technique and you incorporate it into your life. It's not something that creates more stress in your life, more pressure. It's a tool, and you incorporate it to the best you can in your life in terms of scheduling. But I will tell you a funny story. So this woman learned to meditate, and it really helped her a lot. So she sent her husband and her 12-year-old son to come and learn. And I thought maybe the wife had coached the 12-year-old son because the husband was saying, well, I want to learn, but 20 minutes, you know,
Yeah.
who's got the time? On and on and on. So the son said, Dad, there's 1,440 minutes in a day. You don't have 20 minutes to meditate in the morning? And then I knew this was Mom's words, because for a little self-care. No 12-year-old kid says self-care. But I think that's the message.
There are more,
they
and
more
more,
and more? Yes.
more and more kids, and I think that's one of the wonderful things, that even if your school doesn't do it, that you yourself can bring it in to show it to your children, and then they can take it as a tool. We need to give our partners, our friends, ourselves, our children tools to help them to navigate this. So you can go to the David Lynch Foundation, find a teacher there.
Or tm.org.
Or tm.org. They can connect you with the teacher there.
Actually, in the back of the book, it has all the TM centers.
Okay, so in the back of Strength and Stillness, which you can get on Amazon, you have all the centers where you can go to get a teacher, right? And if you also can find out at the David Lynch Foundation
Yes.
about whether you can want to bring it to your school. You work with people about who might want to bring it to their school.
Schools, veterans, women, shelters. We're working with organizations to prevent and treat opioid addiction. And the one thing I would like to say is, I wrote this book almost as a gift, because 100% of the proceeds that come back to me, I'm giving back to help women and children learn to meditate for free. So I'm not taking any of the money, it's for them to learn for free.
So that's Bob Roth for you, taking it all back and putting it back, and that's really, that's the definition of an architect of change, who is changing lives every day and giving us the tools so that I can continue to change my life, even though he's not in Los Angeles or working with me on a daily basis. I have the lessons that he's taught me. He's given me tools. It's really helped me tremendously, which is why I wanted to share his message and share this conversation with him. You're going on a tour around the country, around the world, I should say, and
Same problems everywhere.
same problems everywhere, and people all yearning for something more. And the more isn't in clicks, the more isn't in likes, the more is in you. And that's really what you're trying to teach. Strength and Stillness.
I love
Bob
this woman.
Roth.
Love this
I
woman.
love this man. Buy the book. It's really incredible.
Everybody
Best
loves
learn
this
to
woman.
learn how to meditate. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.